Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel, share this everywhere. Very important today. Pretty much exonerates former President Donald Trump. Makes it very, very difficult for them to indict him for something he didn't do yet again. This time in January, he didn't try to overthrow the government. And furthermore, he stated the words peacefully. He had every right to engage in his First Amendment rights. It was a terrible day. There should never have been that day, but he stated the word peacefully. And yes, terrible day. Nobody is for what took place, the criminal activity. But the question is, was there government involvement in any manner? The Washington Times. Wray won't say a Federal Bureau of Investigation informants within the group of people committing crimes that day. Quote, I really need to be careful. Mr. Wray said, quote, so I really need to be careful here talking about where we have or have not used confidential human sources. This is another way of saying he will not state categorically there was no government involvement or nobody there that had something to do with the U.S. government. That's very different from an informant or somebody who worked for the Bureau. So one person is suing Fox News. Yet again, they're going to settle or lose the case because specific claims were made. An individual started yelling and encouraging people to commit a criminal act, and that individual did not get the prison sentence or basically any punishment that anyone else would have gotten or did receive for the same offense or for the same speech that day. That person is suing Fox News. What's going to happen? The Federal Bureau of Investigation will go to bat for that individual, and they'll say he was never a part of this bureau. The interesting thing is, you don't have to be an employee of a specific agency to have worked with that agency. There are a million different ways you can be of use to an intelligence apparatus without getting a check from them. So that's a whole other story. Fox News, instead of actual investigative journalism that could actually win these lawsuits, they would just rather cave. They don't want to, rattle the hornet's nest like Trump does. So they just acquiesce to a giant, deceptive public relations monstrosity. Okay? Christopher Wray today, the Honorable Christopher Wray at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, refused to categorically say that there was no government involvement. Washington Times, you have other articles here. The Federalist, highlights from House Judiciary hearing with Christopher Wray. Awesome article. Then you have Democrats, of course. Wray calls Fed involvement in January ludicrous, then refuses to answer questions. Again, they can say there was no involvement, no direct involvement, but you have people who, in some capacity, either worked for or were involved with the United States government. Furthermore, he would not categorically say there was nobody there. If there was no government involvement, he could have simply said there was no government involvement. But there was likely some or a great deal of government involvement, which was utilized to silence people for 2+ years. Okay, so Democrats had a lot of opportunities to safeguard that, precious and cherished building. They didn't do so. Trump is quoted, first of all, this is the thing, Trump is quoted by a liberal journalist who was there as having said, send 10,000, soldiers, a National Guard. Okay, the request was never honored, and then the rebuttal is, well, that request was never relayed, or he never made the request because nobody got the request. The President of the United States of America says something in a meeting, and then he relies on people to go ahead and implement what he wants. If you knew that all these big, bad, chaotic, monstrous Trumpers were in D.C. that day, why didn't you protect buildings? Democrats who have the House of Representatives? Why didn't you protect the building? So it's yet again, it's Democrats skirt responsibility for everything. Blame it all on Trump. They couldn't find an organized effort by Trump to overthrow democracy. And the issue is how much government involvement was there? Okay, he wouldn't answer the question. So Washington Times, Ray won't say if informants within the mob, I really need to be careful. Federal Bureau of Investigation Director Christopher Wray on Wednesday would not confirm the presence of confidential human sources that when he testified, Representative Darrell Issa asked if there was one or more individuals who would be described as confidential human sources. So you don't have to be working directly for the Bureau if you were a source. You might not be getting paid by the Bureau. You could be getting paid perhaps by another agency within the U.S. government. You could be getting paid by a non-governmental or an activist group that's working with government agencies. That's why when the stupidest, most disingenuous rebuttal to the Twitter files is, well, the government wasn't involved. I mean, you have to be a complete imbecile to say this. Yes, the government was involved. If 250,000 left-leaning Democrats were suspended off of Twitter and Trump's government asked that each of them be suspended because they were breaking Twitter guidelines, you better believe the left or Democrats or whatever would say, yeah, that's not fair. That's government involvement. That's wrong. That infringes upon the First Amendment. Okay? You have Democrats defending every former Federal Bureau of Investigation agent and intel official like John Brennan and James Clapper because they sided with the Democratic Party against Trump. If they were siding with Trump against Hunter's laptop or Hillary's servers, Democrats would then say, my goodness, it's politicized. This is truly an authoritarian. They already call Trump authoritarian, yet they have loyalists within the U.S. government and pretty much complete control of the media narrative. But Trump is the authoritarian. He's the only authoritarian in history without complete control of media, which is essentially what Democrats have, the narrative, and loyalists within the government. So what kind of authoritarian is Trump? Not a very good one. Okay, and you have everyone from people blowing the whistle on Biden getting indicted, to Trump getting indicted twice, to everyone around him getting indicted, and yet he's the one who's going after his direct political rivals. They're not. Okay, I mean, again, you'd have to be completely gullible, naive, or just disingenuous to see what's happening. You have loyalists within the U.S. government siding with the Democratic Party. It's not difficult to understand. Okay, the Honorable James Comey did not push to indict Clinton. The Honorable Attorney General Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton. President Obama's administration was not going to indict Clinton for actual criminal offenses. It is a crime to siphon classified data and top secret intel onto servers. It is a crime to even own a private server. It wasn't unintentional, and again, you'd have to be stupid to believe all of this. But that's what takes place. People hide behind bureaucracy. A bureaucrat a person who is into tribalism and disowns friends and family because of Trump and only views themselves to be a Democratic Party, like a liberal Democrat, who let's say is an atheist, really doesn't, I mean, Christopher Hitchens is one of my inspirations in life, but I believe in God, a little bit different from Christopher Hitchens, but it's like, I don't care if someone's an atheist or agnostic. The smartest, most intelligent people I know on this earth are agnostic. But the problem is, if you're an atheist and you replace religion with politics, you've done yourself no good. You're still, your religion is politics, okay? Instead of faith in God, you have faith in John Brennan and James Comey and Christopher Wray and intel agencies. Those are, and CNN and MSNBC, the Washington Post, New York Times, those are your gods. Those are your deities. You worship them because they give you exactly what you want. Through bureaucratic, doublespeak, they defend anything. And the aggregate, the bird's eye view is the government sides with one political party, Democratic Party, against Trump, essentially set him up and framed him again through various nefarious or possibly insidious, possibly nefarious means. possibly with January and government involvement? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. We know that the Honorable Christopher Wray has not categorically stated there was no government involvement, which essentially in bureaucratic speak means there was.